I'm glad to see you all. Let's continue with yesterday's topic. Yesterday we discussed the three energies of the soul. There is the energy of eternity, happiness, and knowledge. In the material world, the soul has a subtle energy body. In this subtle energy body, the energy of eternity transforms into the energy of air, or prana. The energy of happiness transforms into the energy of the sun, or tejas. The energy of knowledge transforms into the energy of water, or ojas. These three energies, eternity, happiness, and knowledge, circulate within the subtle energy body. As we discussed, there are 5 layers of the human energy field, and these 3 energies circulate through all 5 energy layers. They are all essential for human life. There is no life without them. Our entire existence consists of these 3 energies, the energy of water, the energy of air, the energy of the sun. These energies sustain our health. As a person ages, their ability to naturally absorb these energies diminishes, even when they are outdoors. However, if someone is not outdoors, these energies cannot be absorbed at all. Because, as we also discussed, besides these 3 energies, there is also the energy of space. The open sky overhead provides space energy, which enables the absorption of other energies. The Earth's energy beneath our feet helps retain these energies within the body. For instance, imagine a person running on a treadmill on the 20th floor of a building on a balcony. While running, prana energy enters their body, but because there's no earth beneath their feet, it quickly dissipates. In this case, it's all for nothing. In other words, if a person lives on high floors, they must do all these body cleansing practices on the ground level, not at home. This is essential to allow their body to recover from the negative effects of living high above the ground. Similarly, someone who exercises indoors, like in a gym, should go outside afterward to absorb natural energy. When running in a gym, you separate 2 practices. When you run outside, you combine them. Prana energy is fresh air. You take in fresh air because you're outside, and it starts to be absorbed when you run or walk. With age, however, the energies of nature are not well absorbed into the body, even if a person is outdoors. Therefore, with age, a person must absorb these energies through asceticism practices. The first type of asceticism practice is staying in water and doing static exercises. When you get in the water energy begins to enter your body. When you maintain a stationary body position, water energy begins to be absorbed, circulates, and cleanse energetic blockages related to water energy. Prolonged continuous movement in fresh air combines energy absorption and circulation processes. When you're in water, these processes are separate. That means when you're in the water, you take in water, and then you absorb it when you are outside of water. In the air, however, these 2 processes are combined. While running outdoors, you absorb water energy. When you run, the air envelops you, saturating your body with air energy. When you run, you absorb it. Your air energy starts circulating well inside you. Similarly, when you're in the sun, you get saturated with solar energy. When you fast, you absorb it deeply. As people age, they should focus on practices like being in water, static exercises, prolonged, continuous movement in fresh air, exposure to sunlight, and fasting. These practices enable you to live long and happily, especially if you know how to do them correctly. The essential knowledge is to channel these energies into all 5 layers of the subtle energy body. Otherwise, neglecting the deeper energy layers will lead to issues like Alzheimer's, mental illnesses, bad habits, negativity, and other similar ones. All of these are connected with the 5th energy layer. In small children, which energy layers suffer most? In children, the 1st and the 2nd energy layers are most affected. The 2nd layer governs emotions and mucous membranes. That's why children experience vomiting, diarrhea, skin problems, and colds. These are all connected to the 2nd energy layer. In middle age, the 3rd layer suffers, impacting blood vessels, muscles, and the spine. Around the age of 40, the 4th layer starts to deteriorate, affecting the thyroid, liver, kidneys, spine, and brain tissue. After 50, the 5th energy layer begins to decline, leading to conditions such as dementia, depression, hormonal disorders, menopause, and bad habits. All these are age-related diseases. Yet, if a person lives correctly, none of these layers suffer. By practicing asceticism practices, one can cleanse all energy layers. The process of cleansing the physical body takes about a year to remove blockages related to the physical body. Cleansing the blockages of the subtle energy body requires about 2-3 years of practice. After 3 years of consistent practice according to schedule, a person feels physically absolutely healthy, mentally stable, and emotionally resilient. They develop a Nordic type of character, free from harmful habits. Everything is great for them. They feel wonderful. There is a good song about healthy lifestyle. Songs like that are very inspiring. All right, my dears, let's study this topic in depth. We will begin by analyzing the 5 layers of the subtle energy body. These are my research findings. You won't find this in Ayurveda. I studied these. How did I study? I started by studying on myself, then worked with many individuals. Then I began testing my subtle energy properties. I now offer a consultation called a healthy lifestyle consultation. You can find it on the website. You pay 26,000 rubles. I analyze your entire subtle energy body and identify issues. Then my assistants tell you what these blockages are, where they are, and what to do about them. They provide guidance for another month to help you work on yourself. They teach you preventive measures, like avoiding a sty in your eye. They guide you on how to do everything correctly and remain healthy. The research is ongoing. When I run, I know precisely which energy layer and sublayer is being cleansed. In each layer, there are 7 sublayers. I know exactly which layer is being cleansed while running or sitting in water. When Igor and I enter the water, there's no need to measure the temperature because I know exactly how long it will take to cleanse all 5 layers, because I can see how it happens. It's not difficult for me to understand this matter. The same goes for fasting. Who among you went for a long-distance walk today? When did you walk?
In the morning.
In the morning. Let's see. No need to say anything. We're experimenting. What time did you start today? When did you begin?
Around 10.
10 in the morning. Okay, let's see. 1, 2. But you walked for a short time. Only 25, 30 minutes.
I ran for 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Did you run, not walk?
Yes.
That's a different matter then. You misled me. Okay, let me check now. 1 hour, 30 minutes. If your speed is 6 minutes, 30 seconds per kilometer, that equals approximately 3.5 layers. However, your speed was slower. You cleansed about 3 layers during this time, which suggests a pace of around 7.5 minutes or 8 minutes per kilometer. Is that correct?
Yes.
You weren't running fast, a light feminine run.
Relaxing.
Relaxing, exactly. You can see that I determined how much she cleansed based on her run. She cleansed exactly 2 layers plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 7 divisions in the 3rd layer. 5 out of 7. She cleansed 5/7 of the 3rd layer as well. That's where she reached. Right near the end of the 3rd layer, there's a dynamic tension. When she got to that point, it became difficult to run. She felt bad and stopped. This is her growth zone, a dynamic blockage. It affects her blood vessels, particularly in the brain. There's a risk of hypertension. Her neck and neck muscles can also suffer because of this blockage. She needs to continue. She also needs to remove the static tension in the 3rd layer. In the middle of the 3rd layer, there's still a static tension blockage. This blockage significantly raises her pulse when she reaches it. She reached 2.5 layers and her pulse increased, not due to dynamic tension, but because of static tension. Static tension is treated by a stationary position of the body. The rule is simple. Until static tension is removed, strong dynamic loads should be avoided, as they can harm health and cause tension and inflammation. The heart will suffer. The sequence for healing is start with water first, then static exercises, then dynamic exercises, and finally fasting. Let's now analyze the 5 layers of the human energy field. The first energy layer is responsible for our interaction with the surrounding world. Blockages in this layer cause disadaptation. Manifestations are different for everyone. Climatic disorders can occur. It may be difficult to adjust to the place of living. It may be difficult to make yourself do anything or interact with people. Severe blockages in the first layer can make basic life activities feel overwhelming. A person may find it difficult to get out of bed or start a task. Overcoming bad habits may be hard. People with issues in the first layer feel unwell when atmospheric pressure changes or temperature changes, or living conditions change, or when moving to a different climate zone. All these issues are connected to the first energy layer. When the first layer suffers, initiating any activity or engaging with the world becomes extremely difficult. How often can you be in water? If you stay in water for 70 minutes, then no more than twice a week at first. That's the maximum. Later, once your body adapts to the water energy, you can do it every day if you want. But at first, stick to a maximum of twice a week, with at least once a week as the minimum. Here's a rule. For every layer of energy absorbed from water, you need to do static exercises for the same number of layers. This is because the water energy, not the water itself, needs to be assimilated by your body. For example, if you go to the pool twice a week but skip static exercises, within 2-3 months, inflammatory processes could start in your body. You might then say, Dr. Torsunov misled me. His methods don't work. But in reality, it wasn't Dr. Torsunov. It was your own laziness. Because any water energy you take into your body needs to be assimilated. For instance, let's say you take a walk in foggy San Francisco. Fog. You walk for an hour. That fog fills you with 2 or 3 layers of water energy. If you don't follow up with static exercises, you might catch a cold. That's because water energy will start moving the fluids in your body and increase your tendency for inflammatory processes. If you go to the pool, the next day you should do static exercises to help your body absorb that water energy. Got it? Remember that. Start with 28 degrees Celsius for 70 minutes. That's a good starting point. It's better to begin with warm water so that it's not too stressful for your body. When can you lower the temperature? Once 28 degrees Celsius feels like nothing to you and you're completely comfortable, you can try 22 degrees Celsius. That's already considered cold water. 28 degrees is optimal for most people, but room temperature water is already considered cold. The colder the water, the less time you should spend in it. From an American lifestyle perspective, this can be very cost-effective. The best option is to use an ice hole because with that, just 5 minutes is enough to cleanse your whole body. Very efficient. But here's the issue. When you're in 22-degree water, you need to warm up afterward. There are 2 ways to do this. The first option is to do a cleansing routine in a sauna. If you've spent 40 minutes in 22-degree water, equivalent to 5 energy layers, you may shiver a bit. Don't worry, that's normal. Afterward, go to the sauna. Lie down in the sauna for a while. Then finish up with a 7.5-minute dip in 22-degree water, equivalent to 1 energy layer. That's the full sauna cycle. I'll explain how to do it in detail later. Right now, I'll focus on how to warm up after being in 22-degree water. You can warm up in warm water. If the water is 38 degrees Celsius, you should stay in for about 25 minutes. That will warm you up for 2 energy layers. At 38 degrees, the body starts detoxifying and circulating energy. Warm water stimulates the flow of prana and sun energy, neutralizing the cold. When the physical body is warmed up, you'll feel fine. Warming up for 2 layers is enough. At 38 degrees, each energy layer takes about 12 minutes. Once you've warmed up for 2 layers, you're done. No need to go beyond that. If you don't plan to go back into cold water, 24 minutes in 38-degree water is sufficient. How will you know it's enough? You'll feel fully warmed up, not overheated, just comfortable. Overheating begins with the 3rd energy layer. If you stay in 38-degree water for more than 24 minutes or in 40-degree water for more than 20 minutes, since at 40 degrees 1 layer takes 10 minutes to cleanse, or in 42-degree water for more than 8 minutes per layer, you're entering the territory of extreme cleansing. That's intense heat. Once you've warmed up for 2 energy layers in hot water, you don't need to cool down afterward. Just get out and you'll be fine. But if you stay in the water longer, you'll need to finish with cold water to cool down properly. The same principles apply to a sauna. In a sauna, there are 3 temperature levels, and it's all based on how you feel. My dears, because temperature and humidity combine, it's easy to get confused, so go by your sensations. Level 1, it feels very hot right from the start. At this level, it takes 7 minutes to cleanse 1 energy layer. The maximum time is 14 minutes if you don't want to jump into cold water afterward. This is not a sauna cleanse, it's just warming up. Level 2, it feels moderately hot and you're sweating. Here, 1 layer takes about 8 to 8.5 minutes. The maximum time is 17 minutes. Level 3, you're sweating, but it doesn't feel hot. It's cool and comfortable, but sweat still forms. At this level, it takes 10 minutes to cleanse 1 layer, with a maximum of 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, you may start to overheat. If you've been in water below 25 degrees Celsius, you need to finish with something warm. This could even be a warm shower. You must warm up your body, or problems may arise. When can you move from 28-degree to 22-degree water? If everything feels fine, you can do it after about a month. For example, if you've done 4 sessions at 28 degrees, each lasting 70 minutes, you can try moving to 22 degrees. A common question is, what's more effective, 28 degrees for 70 minutes or 22 degrees for 40 minutes? The answer is, 22 degrees for 40 minutes is about twice as beneficial as 28 degrees for 70 minutes. It's also more enjoyable because 70 minutes in water feels like forever. It could drive you crazy. So sooner or later, you'll naturally transition to colder water. For instance, we tried 13-degree water for just 20 minutes. Were you with us for that?
No.
Then why are you laughing?
I think you could swim and train just fine in 28 degrees.
Yes, that means 28 degrees works for you. But another person, after trying 13 degrees, won't go back to 28 degrees. They'll always choose 13 degrees because they've experienced how it feels. She felt that lightness, right? Then you go into the sauna, back into the water, and you feel like you're floating the entire day. Such lightness. At that point, you think, nope, I'm not going back to hot water, only cold water from now on. Once someone experiences this, they don't want anything else. It might not make sense now, but once you try it, it will.
Is it better not to start with cold water?
I'm explaining the gentlest method right now. Can you go even colder later? Yes. Go to the website torsunov.ru. In the top menu under Materials, you'll find the section Asceticism Practice Timing Calculator. Here's what it looks like. Go to the torsunov.ru website, click on Materials, then Asceticism Practice Timing Calculator. You'll see an illustration, 3 little figures, one in water, one running, and one sitting. Click on the figure in the water. 3 scales will appear. The top scale is for water temperature, the second scale shows how long to stay in, and the bottom scale has numbers. For example, 4 point something. The 4 represents 4 energy layers, and the something shows subdivisions of each layer into sevenths, 1/7, 2/7, etc. What does that mean? It means that if you sit in 22-degree water for 30 minutes, exactly 4 layers will be cleansed. If you sit for 33 minutes, it will be 4 layers and 2/7.
How many layers are there?
There are a total of 5 layers, but sometimes it might show 6, which means the cleansing cycle has restarted. You need to hit exactly the number 5. For example, 5 corresponds to 22-degree water, and you'd need to stay in for 39 minutes. However, there's one inaccuracy in this chart. When the temperature drops below 4 degrees Celsius, 39 degrees Fahrenheit, the cleansing time always stays at 4.5 minutes. The chart shows it decreasing further, but in practice, it stays constant. This has been experimentally confirmed. Logically, the time should decrease, but in reality, the cleansing process is the same below 4 degrees. It's like jumping into an ice hole. Your body just thinks, what are you doing to me? And the cleansing speed remains constant. Now, for the running figure, it also has 3 scales. The top one is distance, the middle one is time, and the bottom one is cleansing. You can even buy yourself a watch. Track how many kilometers you've walked in a given time, then enter it into your computer and check how much cleansing you've done. Pretty cool. Right now, we're working on developing a program. A skilled programmer is manually inputting all the data. In about a year or a year and a half, you'll be able to buy our app, install it on your Apple Watch or phone, and use it. For example, when you're in the water, you can enter the temperature, and it will calculate your cleansing progress. You'll see how your body is cleansing, and it will even give you suggestions, how much cleansing you need next time, and reminders to do static exercises afterward. While running, it will show you how much you've cleansed. If you stop running, it will track a reversal, then continue forward when you start again. Isn't that great? All for you. Alright, so start with 28 degrees. If 28 degrees feels too cold, try 30 degrees. At 30 degrees, the cleansing is very mild. It's almost 0, but it still happens, just very slowly. I think it takes about 18 minutes to cleanse 1 layer at that temperature.
Only in fresh water, right?
No, it can be slightly salty. Salt doesn't cleanse water energy, but it enhances prana dynamics, providing passive prana cleansing. For example, the highest salt concentration is at the Dead Sea. There you can float, and it takes about 30 minutes to cleanse 1 layer with prana. So if you're in the Dead Sea, the combination of water, salt, and sun works together, but not in a linear way. For instance, with water, you might cleanse 5 layers in 2.5 hours, but salt and sun add their layers too. If it's early morning and the sun is weak, it takes about 30 minutes to cleanse 1 layer with prana energy. So after spending 2.5 hours in the Dead Sea, you can cleanse 5 layers, water and prana combined. Alright, does that clarify water cleansing?
You mentioned 2 reasons why someone might start shivering. One is hitting an energy blockage. What's the second reason?
The second reason is that you're unable to handle the load. For instance, even at 28 degrees, your subtle energy body might struggle, causing shivers. This indicates that your body doesn't easily absorb water energy. However, if your body absorbs water energy well, even temperatures close to freezing won't make you shiver. For example, I now go into water at 0.5 degrees Celsius, 33 degrees Fahrenheit. That's absolutely icy water, and I don't shiver at all. I've demonstrated before, no goosebumps on my skin. I can step into ice water, and my body doesn't react with shivering. Meanwhile, everyone else around me is shivering and covered in goosebumps. My body has adapted. It knows this is beneficial and absorbs water energy naturally. The physical body is nourished by icy water.
Is it okay to do this every day?
Yes, but much later. Only once your body has fully adapted and it feels natural. However, you'll also need to do static exercises every day if you bathe daily.
So right after bathing, you do statics?
You can, but not right away. It's better to start like this. One day you bathe, the next day you do static exercises. Rule number 1, don't combine asceticism practices. Don't combine asceticism practices because it can be dangerous for your health and lead to overload. However, once you're well trained, you can run to cleanse 5 layers, then bathe to cleanse 5 layers, then do a sauna for 5 layers, then another layer in water, and feel fantastic. When I first tried combining a run with an ice bath, my body felt like it was breaking down, but over time it adapted. Now my body craves cold water, icy water, after a run. It becomes natural when your energy body is trained and healthy. So gradually lower the water temperature. Once it's below 25 degrees, always finish with warm water to reheat the body. Let me tell you about another practice you can pair with water therapy and how to stay practical. If you have an entrepreneurial mindset, you should think practically, not like most people. Here's how practical thinking works. Let's say your apartment doesn't have a bathroom. You saved money and opted for a place without one. Here's the practical approach. Buy a plastic tub and set it up in your room. Get a hose, set it up to drain onto the balcony. Fill the tub with water. It will naturally stay around 21-22 degrees Celsius, 70-72 degrees Fahrenheit. Then you simply lie in the tub, get out, towel off, and that's it. Practical thinking, for example, drain the water every 3 weeks. Don't worry about it being dirty. The energy of water is never dirty. Even in a muddy river, as long as the water doesn't irritate your skin, it's not dirty for your body. Water energy is water energy. Dirt is dirt. They are separate things. Got it? The second option is setting up a tub on your balcony. If your neighbors aren't your friends, this might work for you. Just kidding. The third option, if you have your own home, is to set up a barrel. You've probably seen those outdoor barrels with a spout at the bottom. You fill it with water, use it a few times, then drain it. The great thing about this setup is that outdoor water absorbs natural energy. When water is exposed to open skies, its quality improves dramatically, making the healing benefits far greater than indoor water. Even if the barrel is on your balcony, you'll get a much deeper cleanse, and you won't have to spend money on pool memberships or traveling anywhere. Just relax at home. Very convenient. Got it? If you live in an American city, people are generally understanding. If you have an apartment with a backyard, you can place a barrel there and use it regularly. At first, your neighbors might be surprised, but eventually they'll get used to it. It's definitely an option, right?
Can I ask something? Swimming pools here are heavily chlorinated. What can we do about that?
There are 3 types of oils that are universally good for people: clarified butter, ghee, coconut oil, and light sesame oil. You can figure out which one suits you by smell. If the smell feels neutral or pleasant, it's a match. If it feels overly warm or heavy, it's not for you. Try applying it to see how your body reacts. It's best to apply oil on damp skin. Rub in a tiny drop, just enough to cover, for example, your whole leg with a small amount. Applying oil to dry skin requires more and feels heavier. Either way, if you oil your body and wait 30 minutes before entering chlorinated water, the chlorine won't affect your skin. Your skin won't be dry. Oil protects the skin from dehydration. You can apply oil all over your body. Every day I stand under the shower and apply coconut oil to my entire body. This practice improves skin health, strengthens hair roots, boosts digestion, enhances immunity, lifts mood, and supports cellular metabolism. It's extremely beneficial for everyone. You just need to find the oil that works for you among the 3 I've mentioned. Using any other oils isn't recommended. They can overheat your body and cause harm over time. Only these 3 oils are universally safe and won't harm your health when applied regularly. Got it? Let's move on. So after starting water immersion, begin static exercises the next day to absorb the water energy. How do you perform static exercises? Stand with your back against a wall, feet slightly away from it, and hold the position. It takes 13 minutes to cleanse 1 energy layer. If, for example, you sat in water for 2 layers and don't want to go further, stand against the wall for 2 layers, 26 minutes total. If you've immersed yourself for 5 layers, then stand for 5 layers, 65 minutes.
Without moving at all?
Not even blinking, just kidding. You can move your hands or turn your head slightly, no problem. The key is to keep your torso and legs still. However, there are exceptions. If you feel stiffness setting in, why does that happen? Because the water energy isn't circulating properly in your body. If it flows correctly, you won't feel stiff. If you do feel stiffness increasing and it gets harder to endure, your body heats up. That's a sign of blocked energy. For instance, if swelling starts, that indicates a blockage. As the blockage begins to clear, you'll feel heat. That's the water energy trying to push through. Next, you may experience tingling. This means the blockage is breaking through. After that comes numbness, which signals energy is flowing but overwhelming your system. Finally, you'll feel lightness. When lightness appears, the blockage is fully cleared. If you find it too hard to keep standing and can't break through the blockage, it's okay to sit down briefly. Just sit down for no more than 20 seconds. If you sit for longer than 20 seconds, you can relax because the cleansing process will stop. After 20 seconds, stand back up, and the cleansing resumes, though at a lower intensity. It won't be as effective as standing the entire time, but it's better than doing nothing at all. You can sit down up to 3 times during a 65-minute session. Gradually, you'll find it easier and easier to remain standing throughout the practice.
Can we lean on something?
Yes, that's called a modified standing pose. You can lean and slightly shift your legs away from the wall. Around the 30-minute mark, between 26 and 39 minutes, your blood vessels are being cleansed and you might feel faint. That's when you might suddenly find yourself hitting the floor. This is dangerous because people usually fall face first. It's not pleasant, like literally hitting your face on a table. It's very harsh. You can move your hands or do small activities, but your legs and torso should remain still. You can read, listen to lectures, but the best practice during statics is to pray. Water embodies the energy of knowledge, and prayer harmonizes exceptionally well with stillness. It amplifies the effects tremendously.
Does working 8 hours count as statics?
No, that's not static practice. It's not asceticism practice. It's like saying lying down is also static practice. True statics means resisting gravity. It's an asceticism practice, and that's when cleansing begins. If you're relaxed, no cleansing takes place. Theoretically, something might still happen. Like, while I'm sitting here giving this lecture, I'm probably clearing 2/7 of a layer. That's basically insignificant. Now, this first standing exercise also has an energetic meaning. The first thing to know is that standing exercises always heal the upper half of the body. If you're dealing with migraines, eye issues, problems with your head or memory, you need to work on the upper body. In such cases, only the standing position works because it directs energy upward to cleanse the head. Nothing else will do this. Only when standing does the energy flow upward, cleansing the head. From a spiritual or moral perspective, the standing position is the best for learning how to take the first blow in life. For example, something happens, someone knocks you down, tells you to leave America, or some unexpected event strikes you. In such cases, standing still in a static position is the best way to absorb the blow of fate. Standing teaches resilience like trees. They stand firm and don't move. Interestingly, standing near trees is also a great way to clear static tension because trees naturally circulate water energy very powerfully. Trees are static, they stand still constantly. Trees amplify the energy of knowledge within themselves. Does that make sense? This is why standing near trees, leaning against them, is twice as effective as standing against a wall. There's also the concept of passive cleansing. Passive water energy circulation is possible too. This method works wonderfully for young children who won't stand still against a wall. There are children with autism or cerebral palsy. Autism and CP indicate damage to the 5th layer. So how do we help such a child? For this, we use passive water cleansing. The child floats in 28-degree water for 70 minutes. Next, how do we circulate that water energy? There are 2 methods. The first method, we attach a harness to a tree. The child crawls near the tree but can't move away from it. Any tree cleanses 1 layer in 20 minutes. So 100 minutes cleanse all 5 layers. This practice can be done 3 times a week for children with autism, CP, speech issues, sleep disturbances, etc. We've done the water session and the static exercises. Now only the dynamic cleansing remains. I'll explain how to clean dynamics passively for a child later. The next method for static cleansing in children is hanging upside down. There's something called an inversion table. It's a bench with a hinge. The legs are secured and the child flips over and hangs. If hanging completely vertically, 1 layer is cleansed in 3.5 minutes. Kids love swinging and hanging upside down. They find it fun. 3.5 minutes per layer. For all 5 layers, it's 17.5 minutes. Start by hanging for 1 layer. Then gradually increase the time more and more. Got it? Check if the child can comfortably hang for 3.5 minutes. The next day, repeat 3.5 minutes. After 3 sessions of 3.5 minutes, move up to 7 minutes. Then go to 10.5 minutes. Then 14 minutes, and finally 17.5 minutes. We bathe the child, let them hang, remove static tension, and the child stops being withdrawn and isolated. They stop being cranky, stop stressing out, start falling asleep on time, inflammation subsides, and colds become less frequent. All of this is due to reducing static tension. Amazing, isn't it? Even a small child can be treated this way. You can also hang upside down. This is called passive cleansing. It clears energy blockages, though not as intensely as through active asceticism practices. If you're overweight, have hypertension, or are older, maybe hanging upside down isn't for you, but for a younger person, it's perfectly fine. I have an inversion table at home, and I hang on it periodically. When I don't have the energy for active practices, I hang for a bit, and it's fine. It helps. This is called passive cleansing, and it's very effective. The next exercise is the modified butterfly pose. Bring the soles of your feet together, knees apart, back supported by the couch, and legs resting on a soft surface. This is the butterfly pose. It cleanses the lower part of the body, reproductive organs, hormones for both men and women, and anything in the lower body. It's great for kidney health and promotes circulation in the lower body. It's not difficult to do. If your legs start to go numb, you can sit cross-legged to relax for 20 seconds, then return to the butterfly pose. The butterfly pose promotes kindness, calmness, and balance. For women, it helps relieve menstrual pain, prepares the body for conception, and eases menopause in later years, an excellent posture for health. For men, it calms sexual impulses. Sitting in the butterfly pose helps them feel more composed. If your husband is overly excitable, get him into the butterfly pose and join him yourself.
You mentioned standing by the wall and sitting in the butterfly pose. Does that mean you can't clean 2 layers in one pose and 2 in another?
No, this is important to understand. If you're standing by the wall and change your position, the cleansing process resets. You must complete the session in one position. Each day, stick to a single pose without switching. The butterfly pose fosters kindness and harmony, while standing teaches you to accept fate. The kneeling pose cleanses the entire spine and midsection but doesn't affect the head. If you're kneeling and get tired, you can go into a cat-like position for 20 seconds and then return to the kneeling pose. These postures cleanse 1 layer in 13 minutes. The physical strain on the body is roughly the same. Standing is tough, honestly, while the butterfly pose is easier. The kneeling pose is also challenging, especially on a hard surface. It's better to kneel on something soft like a cushion or couch. While kneeling, you can lean slightly on the back of a chair. It's easier when your arms are supported. Kneeling symbolizes acceptance of fate. There's accepting the blows of fate, and then there's accepting situations where there's no blow, like when your wife is nagging you. In those cases, the kneeling pose helps you get used to her personality, and everything feels fine. She's arguing, but you're unaffected. It's very practical. It's a useful practice. A friend of mine didn't know what to do. His wife kept nagging him. He couldn't figure out how to adjust. I told him, try the kneeling pose. He started kneeling for 65 minutes every day, and now he tells everyone, it's amazing, perfect. She argues, and I'm fine. It's a very practical posture.
And if you kneel in front of your wife, it's even better.
My wife attended some workshop. She also enjoys giving me a hard time. One day she tried this. She knelt down, placed her hands together, and started scolding me relentlessly. And I felt great. I told her, go on, keep going. She kept at it, and I wasn't bothered at all. It was actually pleasant. Imagine how great this is. You kneel down, clasp your hands, and start nagging your husband. He responds calmly.
Then there's no point.
Exactly, there's no point, right? It's like in that joke. A soldier joins basic training and is given a crowbar. He starts sweeping the parade ground with it. He says, give me a broom, I can sweep better. The sergeant replies, we don't need better. We just need you to exhaust yourself.
Can you show us how to stand properly near the wall and angle your legs? I don't quite understand.
Who wants to demonstrate near the wall? Let's find a free wall and show them.
Imagine this is the wall. You lean against it and step your feet slightly away. How far do I step?
Like this? Further back? Yes, just like that.
Oh, stand like this. But today, we didn't stand like this. Everyone stood straight. It's dangerous. If you hit a blockage while standing straight, you might fall forward.
If your feet are stepped out, you'll just slide gently down the wall, no harm done.
Should I raise my toes?
Why? Raise your toes later when you're in a coffin. For now, there's no need. All right, is that it? Or do we need more demonstrations? Kneeling is clear, right? We've got a manual. Everything is in there. Go read the manual. Visit torsunov.ru and go to the homepage. Scroll down to the social media section. Under the English social media links, you'll find download the manual in English. You pay just a little bit of money, just a tiny bit. My dears, may I continue speaking instead of you? You can share this with your English-speaking husbands or wives. There are also health lectures in English available on social media. Listen to them. The next static exercise is the diamond pose. This one is more advanced, harder to do, but it's more effective for channeling the energy of water for those who are more experienced. Sit on something soft, It's easier to do on a cushioned chair. It's important that the chair has an opening in the back for your legs. You sit on the chair, place your legs through the opening, and balance on your seat. Can someone demonstrate how to sit like this? You start by kneeling on the chair, putting your legs through the opening, and resting your back against the chair. This is called the diamond pose.
Vajrasana?
Vajrasana and the diamond pose are the same thing.
And if it's comfortable, that's probably not very good, right?
On the contrary, that's good if you'll be able to endure it. Also, you can put a small cushion between your buttocks and shins right here, and it makes it even easier.
Does this mean that the energy layers will take longer to cleanse?
No, not longer. Just the cleansing won't be as deep. All right, we always start doing the exercise very gently, okay? Put a small cushion, sit on something soft, lean your back against a chair and sit like this. If you feel unwell, you can get up like a cat if you're on the floor. And if you're on a chair, just lift yourself up slightly, holding onto the backrest, and stay for 20 seconds. Then come back to the diamond pose. The cleansing doesn't stop. If you do it longer, then you have to start all over again. Today I sat like this for 65 minutes. I didn't get up at all and everything was fine. Because I'm trained. A year ago I wouldn't have been able to do this, but now I can sit comfortably in the diamond pose.
And what does this pose cleanse?
This pose heals the spine, intestines, spine, lower part, middle part, stomach, hips, hip joints, and all joints of the body. It also heals arms and legs. It's a very powerful position. And if you pray while doing it, it helps overcome your fate. This is the most powerful position during prayer. It doesn't let fate take over you. The next body position is the half lotus pose. You put one leg on top of the other like this and sit. If you feel unwell, sit cross-legged, then back to half lotus. This position increases attention span. And overall, it also heals the lower part of the body, like the butterfly pose. But this position is more complex than the butterfly. It's harder to maintain. You can't change the leg. You should do it for 65 minutes with one leg. Half lotus pose mainly heals mental functions. If the left leg is on top, then emotions are healed. A person becomes more emotionally stable. If the right leg is on top, then the person's willpower is healed. For women, it's better to have the left leg on top. For men, the right leg. So these are all the static exercises that you can do more or less effectively to start with. The rule is this: all static exercises should be done 4 times a week, because even with 3 times a week, static tension already starts to accumulate in the body. And this is a problem. It's better to alternate. If you do one exercise all the time, it becomes easier to get used to it later. You do the same thing, then it becomes easier to do that same thing, but it can be a problem with exhaustion. If you do the same thing, your body can get overtired from it. Therefore, it's best to do 2 exercises on alternate days. For example, the butterfly pose and the standing pose. You heal the lower part of the body, then the upper part. You can do it by combining 2 pool sessions per week. If you do it less than 4 times, you will definitely have health problems later. So 2 pool sessions, 4 times. If 1 pool session per week, 3 times is tolerable. But the healing effect will be much weaker in this case. 4 times a week is already good. 2 times a week in the pool, 4 times a week static exercises, and you're treating static tension just wonderfully. If you have chronic inflammation, strong irritability, constant heat in the body, then after practicing this for 3 weeks, you'll be healthy or fresh as a daisy. This means that you're not curing these diseases, but you are just feeling fine. And to cleanse the energetic blockages and cure diseases, you need first to cleanse these blockages for 8 months, and only after that your chronic diseases will start to heal effectively. If you've been doing static exercises and water procedures for about 2 weeks, you can start walking. This guarantees that there won't be any overload from walking. Start walking unhurriedly. Start walking at a medium but quite brisk pace. If you walk for 48 minutes, 1 energy layer gets cleansed. Or more precisely, you can check your specific timing in the program. You need a watch to always measure pulse, distance, and time. Why is it important to measure pulse? To watch that there are no pulse increases. If you're walking, your pulse shouldn't go above 160. If it's 110, that's okay. If it jumps too high, then it's dangerous.
Dr. Torsunov, what's the ideal pool temperature?
For the pool, start with 28 degrees. In the pool, in the sauna, the most important thing is not to overdo it. Do everything without rushing. You have eternity ahead of you. Why would you risk it? Go with 28 degrees 3-4 times, then confidently move to 22 degrees. There will definitely be no health problems. After going with 22 degrees 3-4 times, you can move on to 15 degrees. Here's the most important rule. If you enter cold water and your legs don't get cramped, it means you won't have any dangerous situations. If they do get cramped, don't go in there. If you enter the water and you're shaking and trembling really intensely like this, that's also not good. If you enter, get a slight shake and it passes, or you're shaking just a little. That's normal. Okay? If you're shaking badly, then get out and keep warm. If you do static exercises, the water will never overload you. Even if you got out with a blockage, you still did the static exercise and neutralized the water's energy, and that's it. Okay?
If you walk 48 minutes every morning, is it cleansing the first energy layer each time or already the second one?
First layer. Doesn't matter if it's every day or not, it always will be only the first one. This is a problem that might lead to severe imbalance in the future and huge health problems. Therefore, we start with walking 48 minutes. Don't fear anything, get into it. We walk 48 minutes 2-3 times, then try walking for 2 layers. But for 2 layers, you shouldn't do it every day, but every other day. We walk for 1 hour 40 minutes every other day to let the body recover. Then after walking for 2 layers 3-4 times, we go for 3 layers, 2 hours 40 minutes every third day. This is the most frequent. The least frequent, we add 1 day. For 3 layers, every third day for 4 layers, every fourth day for 5, every fifth day. But this is the most frequent. You can walk for 5 layers once a week, but less frequently. There will be contamination. You understand? Now what happens when you walk? Your joints start to ache. This means healing has begun. You shouldn't be afraid of this process, especially if your joints started aching. But if you stopped walking, there will be chronic disease later because the body is not fully healed. This is the most dangerous. If you have acute pain while walking, then stop walking. In this case, you should do static exercises and pool until you can walk without any pain. If you've cleansed well with static exercises, there can't be acute pain, only aching. The body aches. This means it's healing. How long will it ache? One joint is treated for a maximum of 6 months, then the next one. If your knee is aching now, it's healing. My right knee also ached for half a year, then it passed. Now I don't have any pain at all. I run like a horse.
Should we not stop?
You shouldn't stop. Do you know why is it aching? It demands energy. Healing is happening. It's saying, I want energy. That's why it aches. But you can't walk more frequently. Otherwise there will be overload. There are also cases when a person has severely painful joints. Then use an elliptical machine with handles. In this case, you barely bend your joints, and the load on them will be minimal. You should replace prolonged continuous movement on the elliptical machine. How to do it? You need to go for 1 layer with a watch. You're walking and following the schedule exactly. Then you'll see when exactly 1 layer has been cleansed. You walked for about 48 minutes. The distance is approximately 4 kilometers, and you got number 1 in the program without fractions. Everything is excellent. Check your average heart rate. We know the distance, for example, 4 kilometers time, 48 minutes, average heart rate, let's say 110 beats per minute. Now we get on the elliptical machine. We don't look at the distance, whatever is written there. We don't need it. We keep track of the average heart rate and time. We just maintain this average heart rate. We walk and make sure that the average heart rate is 110 on the watch. We walk for 48 minutes and get the same energy layer cleansed. It's a virtual movement, not forward at all. The same if you want to walk with poles. You should measure distance by average heart rate. First, just walk normally, check the average heart rate, and then with poles, maintain the same average heart rate, and you'll get the same cleansing if you do it at the same time. You can walk the same way with a stroller if you have a small child. At first, you should walk without a stroller for 48 minutes, then with a stroller following the heart rate. You can do bends this way too. There is such cleansing with bends. You do bends, maintain the average heart rate, then time passes and you get this cleansing, that's all. We gradually increase the movement to 4 hours once a week. Why can't we walk for less time? Because there will be an imbalance. If you walk for 3 energy layers for a year, the last 2 layers don't heal. That means that prana moves well in the first 3 layers and doesn't move in the last ones, creating an imbalance. And what happens then? The spine is located on the 4th layer. This is true for all athletes. When an athlete trains, their joints wear out because they train for 2 layers. Joints are on the 3rd layer, but they train for 2 layers. So their prana moves for 2 layers. On the 3rd layer, prana doesn't move. What will happen then? In a year, the joints will wear out because they're not nourished. You're not feeding them. That's why once a week you need to move for 5 layers, otherwise your body will fall apart from your practices. And I've seen this many times in the gym. I go in there and watch people kind of going crazy.
There are treadmills that move. You don't make the full movement because the platform moves.
You need to raise it to 0.5 degrees, then it's like walking on the ground. Is everything clear about movement? Now about passive cleansing of dynamic tension. How to make prana energy move passively. Let's say if you have a small child with autism, you won't be able to make them run or walk. Well, you can do it with some children. Let's say a small 6-year-old child. and you walk together at their pace. But the program is made for adults. But if a child walks at their average pace, then in 48 minutes, one energy layer will be cleansed. Now you've chosen their pace, this one when they're puffing, and then you just keep walking at this pace while the child runs, then sits. They can't walk continuously. They need to play. They run, then sit, then do something else, but you don't stop. If you don't stop, they cleanse as much as needed. If you move for 4 hours, they cleanse all 5 layers. This is for autistic children when a child, let's say, needs this cleansing, because autistic children usually have static and dynamic tension affecting the 5th layer. This child needs to hang upside down, sit in water, and move for 5 layers. Or there's another practice when they swim in a pool for 5 layers. There's also such a thing as a salt room, where the temperature is low, around 40-50 degrees. And in this salt room, 1 layer is cleansed in 10 minutes. So you can take the child there for 50 minutes with you. First in water for 5 layers, then in the salt room for 5 layers, then in water for 1 layer. If you do this practice once a week, after 8 months, the energetic blockages will be cleansed in the children, and they begin to develop. This is called passive cleansing. You can do passive cleansing near a tree, or hanging upside down instead of static tension. Or you can tie the child to a tree with a cord. They crawl around there but can't walk away from the tree, and in 1 hour and 40 minutes, all 5 layers are passively cleansed. The best trees for autistic children are linden and oak. You have oaks all around here. This oak heals mental functions, heals joints, heals the spine, calms down, restores sleep, and heals mental illnesses. This is powerful tree healing. It's better not to use any coniferous trees. They mainly have masculine energy. They mainly dissolve things. Spruce dissolves oncological diseases. Your sequoias also dissolve cancer. Well, if you have a tumor, you need prolonged walking, fasting, and standing near a sequoia. And deciduous trees heal other diseases. How to determine which tree? You need to remember the rule. Hug your husband, but stand with your back to the tree. Don't turn your back to your husband. You should hug your husband, remember that. Stand with your back to the tree, don't hug the tree. You shouldn't hug the tree like this. You should hug your husband, but stand with your back to the tree. Did you remember? Simple method. Cleansing of static and dynamic tension is the foundation for healing. You need to dedicate some time to this because cleansing of toxins is already a more serious practice, more complex, and requires the body to be prepared. You understand? The best thing is walking, just walking. All these skis, bicycles, all of this is unnatural. Just walking, regular walking is the best cleansing and physiologically beneficial. You can use poles if you want. The next practice is cleansing yourself from toxins. There are several options. The first option, since you live in California, you have the sun today. The sun already cleanses the body, but only when there are no clouds. In the sun like now, it takes about 30 minutes to cleanse 1 layer. And the sun that's been heating from the morning, 25 minutes per layer. To determine the speed of sun cleansing, you should remember the rule. If you're in the sun and it's really pressing on your brain, then it's 20 minutes per layer. And this is not very good. The early morning sun that has just started to heat is cleansing the body. When it's not heating yet, it doesn't cleanse. As soon as the sun starts to heat, it cleanses 1 layer in 25 minutes. And staying under this sun for 2 hours, 5 minutes, all 5 layers will be cleansed. How to cleanse in the sun, how to treat toxins. First, you need to sit in water, at least for a couple of layers, then either do static tension or walk in the sun. But you shouldn't lie. The sun always cleanses through the head. So it's not necessary to expose the body. It's enough to just keep your head uncovered. Don't wear a hat. And the sun cleansing has already started. You should always be in the sun. If a cloud comes, cleansing stops. This is not good. Cleansing works better when the sky is absolutely clear. No clouds means cleansing goes steadily. No trees, no shade should be there. Pure sunlight only. After the sun, water again. Water before the sun and water after the sun. This is a very important rule. When you're cleansing with the sun, there should be water right before the sun and water right after the sun. You should stay in water at least for 2 layers. If it's 22 degrees, then 14 minutes before the sun and at least 7.5 minutes after the sun. It's clear, right? So the next practice of cleansing from toxins is sauna. There are 2 options. Hammam is when there's circulation of static tension, water energy, and toxins while cleansing. And dry sauna is when there's the circulation of prana energy, sun energy, and toxins. These are 2 options. If you have allergies, it means there's damage from static tension and toxins. So you need hammam. And if you have oncology, then you need a dry sauna. We need to understand why doctors don't recommend saunas for oncology patients. It works this way. You enter the sauna, you have very strong blockages on the 3rd layer. Let's say you have uterine fibroids. You stayed until it affected 3 layers. Then you felt unwell, when you left because you felt unwell, you got an increase in uterine fibroids. Why? Because it started to heal but couldn't complete the healing. Chronic inflammation started to grow. If a person with fibroids stays in the steam room until it affects 4 layers, then the fibroid starts to dissolve. But without prolonged continuous movement, nothing can be dissolved. You should do everything according to schedule. First static, water, then dynamics, and only then sauna. If you don't do static and dynamic exercises but go to the sauna, it will get worse. How to use the steam room? At first you should do static exercises for 5 layers, then steam room, then static exercises for 1 layer, meaning in water, first in water for 5 layers, then steam room, then in water for 1 layer. Did you remember the rules?
Can you repeat that?
Water for 5 layers, then steam room for as long as you can, then water for 1 layer. In the steam room you need to lie down. Not sit, not stand, only lie down, because these temperature fluctuations in the steam room are deadly.
How many layers in the steam room?
You should stay there in as many layers as you can handle. And how to determine? Determine it like this. You should understand that the steam room in general has its own limit. It has its own limit for human capabilities. The limit is called 140. If the temperature is 100, then humidity should be 40, and even this number is already harmful to health. If the temperature is 80, humidity 60. If the temperature is 60, humidity 80. The temperature 50, humidity 90. And 90 is already hammam, because 100 humidity doesn't exist. That's a fairy tale.
Should we go to the steam room for 1 layer?
For 1 layer. So you enter the steam room and lie down. If you came after 5 layers, you won't be able to determine the cleansing speed. To determine the cleansing speed, you need to enter the steam room for just 20 or even 10 seconds before the water. And what should you do there? You should stand there and observe. If your skin burns, it means cleansing takes 7 minutes per layer. This is very dangerous. If you feel warm, just warm, and you're sweating, it means 8.5 minutes per layer. This is basically normal. If you enter and feel sweat coming but not warmth, 10 minutes per layer, this is the most physiological cleansing and it's very good. If you lie in the steam room and sweat doesn't appear, if you lie for 20 minutes and sweat doesn't appear, this sauna is harmful to health. Because the cleansing is very slow, it leads to diarrhea. After it, you will feel unwell. Bad conditions are when it's too hot and also when it's too slow.
In our steam rooms, steam appears, then it's gone, then appears again. So generally the temperature is not always stable. That's the kind of steam room we have. How to determine the temperature? It's not a hammam.
It's okay. Go by average sensations. If it's very hot, it's 7 minutes per layer. Moderately hot is 8.5 minutes per layer. And if it's not hot at all, it's 10 minutes per layer. What do we do in the steam room? We lie down, stay still, and wait. What are we waiting for? We watch the time. It's essential to keep track of time. After 5 layers, if you've been lying in water for about 2 layers, you won't feel anything. Because 2 layers go to warm up the physical body. Only after 2 layers will you start feeling that you're heating up. No matter how cold the water was, after 2 layers, you will start heating up anyway. I advise you to start with lying down for 3 layers, because more than that is dangerous for health. But on the 2nd and 3rd layer, you definitely have toxins. They will come out. How to determine when you absolutely need to leave the steam room? There are 3 sensations. First, nausea. Second, stuffiness. And third, nausea, stuffiness, and you feel very hot. These are 3 sensations that all indicate you need to leave. Don't wait too long. As soon as you feel slightly nauseous, get out. Slightly stuffy, get out. Slightly hot, get out. That's it. Okay? And check how many layers you manage to lie down for. If it's 2.5, it means there's a blockage. Usually people always feel hot at the blockage. The blockage gets cleansed. You can get past the blockage after about 4 or 5 sauna sessions. Go to 4 or 5 sauna sessions according to schedule, and by the 5th one, you'll be able to lie down longer. If you're sweating and it's not hot at first, it will always get hot later. After the 3rd layer, everyone feels hot, but in different ways. If it's uncomfortably hot, get out. If it's tolerably hot, then continue lying. The rule is always this. If you lie down for more than 2 layers, you must finish with water. You can't just leave the steam room and go home. You'll feel bad at home. Always end with water, but only for 1 layer. 28 degrees, 40 minutes. 22 degrees, 7.5 minutes.
Can we use the shower?
No, use a barrel. You have a barrel, right?
Can we use a jacuzzi instead of a sauna?
That's a different type of cleansing. That's dynamic cleansing plus toxins, but it's very complicated. If it's 40 degrees, you'll get tired of lying there and it's very difficult to endure for long. And if it's 42 degrees, it's even harder. But in a sauna, it's easier to do cleansing. Once a week, go to the sauna. Once a week, always after flights. Right after the plane, you need to go to the sauna. Water for 5 layers, then sauna, then water again, and goodbye the airplane vibrations. Airplanes take away water energy. Trains and cars take away air energy. After a train ride, accordingly, cleansing means prolonged continuous movement. And after a long car ride too, well, if you are going by car, approximately 50 minutes of driving pollutes 1 layer. Well, accordingly, if you drive longer at once, then it's more. Wow, that's how it all works. The next option for cleansing from toxins is fasting on greens. The best greens for fasting are lettuce leaves. Take a lettuce leaf, put it in a blender, and blend it with water. You can add a little salt. That's it. Don't add sugar, honey, or anything else. No lemons. Just drink it and that's all. 12 hours of fasting, that's 1 layer. 24 hours of fasting, 2 layers. 36, 3 layers. 48, 4 layers. 60 hours, 5 layers. You can cleanse 1 layer every day. This is called intermittent fasting. It's very beneficial to start cleansing this way. If you don't eat for 12 hours, your solar nutrition activates. Start fasting with 12 hours or with 16. You eat in the evening and next time at lunch. It's 16 hours of fasting. It's very beneficial. I've been eating like this for 20 years now. Never having breakfast. I only drink water in the morning. Cleansing happens in the morning as the sun rises. But only the first energy layer gets cleansed intensely and the second one just a little bit.
What time do you eat in the evening?
In the evening, I only eat fruits. Lunch is around 1 or 2 o'clock. In the evening, I eat fruits at 9.
Shouldn't fruits be eaten in the morning?
I overheat, so I can eat them in the evening. From 9 p.m. to midnight, 3 hours pass. From midnight to noon, 12 hours pass. And another hour until 1 p.m. That makes 16 hours of fasting. Great. You can cleanse for 24 hours once a week, 36 hours once every 2 weeks, 48 hours once every 3 weeks, 60 hours once a month. What does fasting on greens for 60 hours mean? It's 3 nights and 2 days. No need to strive for this. Everything should be done gradually. First, start with intermittent fasting, which means eating greens. In the morning, drink green juice, and that's it. That's great and convenient. Then when you get used to it, continue with fasting for 24 hours or better 36 hours right away because it's 2 nights and 1 day. Fasting for 24 hours means eating in the morning, then eating the next morning again. Never break your fast in the evening. Do it either in the morning or at lunch. Water fasting is more effective. Dry fasting is even more effective but dangerous because during dry fasting you don't cool down. The sun's energy enters you, you heat up and don't cool down. You might feel very hot. If you have a lot of toxins, you'll simply burn out. Therefore, dry fasting is only possible when you're already well cleansed. Then you can do dry fasts. To everything mentioned above, I should add that if you overeat late in the evening with wrong foods, then whether you fast or not, you'll still get sick. If you wake up late, then static tension and lack of water energy will still accumulate. If you go to bed late, after 10 p.m., you'll accumulate a lack of air energy. Well, yes, 7 a.m. here it is, 6 by sun time. Your time shift is a concession made for Americans. I've told you generally everything. All details are written in the methodical guide. Read it.
The sun rises at 7 a.m. for us. If we walk in the sun for 48 minutes, how many layers will be cleansed?
If you go out in the sun and immediately feel it's warming you, then it takes 25 minutes to cleanse 1 energy layer, 50 minutes to cleanse 2 energy layers. Walking is one type of cleansing, and sun exposure is another type of cleansing. Sun cleanses toxins while walking cleanses prana. These are completely different types of cleansing.
Can we combine asceticism practices in 1 day?
Look, if you're trained and you're having a fasting day, let's say you have a myoma. You have a fasting day. You're doing water fasting at this time. If you also spend time in the sun to cleanse 5 layers, the cleansing will be even better. And if on this day you also walk to cleanse 5 layers, then the cleansing will be even deeper. But all these things should be combined only by a trained person. The rule is, if you're not trained, do 1 type of cleansing per day. But when you're trained, the more types of cleansing in 1 day, the better for health. So, if on your fasting day you also walk for 5 layers and stay in water for 5 layers, that's even better. If you add sun exposure, that's excellent. But if you're untrained and you're fasting and go to sauna, you might die there. And I know such an example. One man went to a sauna during fasting and ended up with a stroke. This means he put too much strain on himself because these are the same practices. You're fasting, that means the energy of the sun is activated. Sauna also activates the energy of the sun. You get twice as much energy from the sun and it leads to overload. But if you're trained, it's even more rejuvenating. The more cleansing you have, the healthier you become.
And is it okay that after running we get into water and then go to the sauna?
It's okay once with Dr. Torsunov. After running, water is always good. After walking, water is always good. If you practice movement for a long time, if you walk for 2 energy layers, you don't need water. But if you walk for 5 energy layers, it's better to stay in warm water. And if you stay in cold water, then go to the sauna. That's also a very great practice.
Will sauna be good after running?
Running, then water, then sauna, then water again. Or just running and then water, but if running and then sauna directly, then it's too dangerous.
And can we sit in the barrel? We don't have to stand.
In water, static tension isn't treated. You only absorb the energy of water. You need to stand on the ground. Gravity must work. There's no gravity in water. There's none at all there. Whether you stand or lie, it's all the same. Any other questions? Did you like the methodical system? After a year of such practice, all your chronic diseases will start healing, and after 2 years, they will be gone completely. Well, except if you've severely neglected something. Cancer is only treated with running together with water fasting. If you don't run but walk, the tumor won't heal. So there are tricks. For example, if you have a myoma, you walk for 2 energy layers, then run for 1 layer. You walk for 2 layers, and the myoma is in the 3rd layer. So you should run to cleanse the 3rd layer, then walk again. This way the myoma starts healing. Or you fast on greens for 2 layers, then on water for 1 layer, and the healing begins again.
Is all cancer located in the 3rd layer?
Myoma is in the 3rd layer. There are different types of cancer. It can be in the 5th energy layer, hormonal tumors, for example. Blood cancer is in the 5th layer.
And which layer is breast cancer?
4th layer. Skin cancer is in the 2nd layer.
And how to correctly treat blood cancer?
Do water sessions, static exercises, prolonged continuous movement, 60-hour fasting. Otherwise it won't heal. But since you lose weight due to cancer, therefore you need to fast on greens. You can't do water fasting, you'll lose even more weight. About cancer, I want to say, if it can be surgically removed, better to remove it. Don't take risks here. Don't think, now Dr. Torsunov will tell us all the practices and we'll recover. If the tumor is malignant, it needs to be removed. Radiation therapy is needed.
What about blood cancer?
Here you can't remove anything. Do all the practices to cleanse 5 energy layers.
And after surgical removal, do I still need to cleanse the same way?
If you don't cleanse your body, you won't recover, because if you had radiation therapy, chemotherapy, you can only survive with these cleansing practices. If you don't do them and just take all these medications, your body won't recover. You need to remove all this stuff from your body afterwards.
And if there's physically no possibility, for example, my mother has a broken spine, she can't walk.
She can use an expander, for example, and cleanse 5 layers doing exercises with her arm. She can move like this, even if it's just her hand. There's a simple rule. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. If you can't crawl, lie down and move your arms. If you can't move your arms, then it's time to order a wooden box and find a comfortable resting spot, maybe under California or San Francisco. It's over for you. Movement is life.
During radiation, you shouldn't cleanse, right?
What radiation? Are you preparing for a nuclear war or something? On the contrary, you must cleanse, absolutely. If you're exposed to radiation, you need water and both static and dynamic movements. If exposed to radiation, you must do all of this. Otherwise, your mother will simply pass away. But everything must be done cautiously. If someone is sick, they must begin carefully. Remember, the most important part of this practice is the entry. It's the most risky and dangerous stage, so it must be gradual. If you're sick but feel capable, gradually increase your efforts. It's nothing to worry about. But if you make a sick person start abruptly, you'll only cause harm. Everything should be started very carefully. Remember, you have your whole life ahead. After 6 months of easing into these practices, you'll adapt. After that, healing will follow, and it will only get better from there. I started running at the age of 50. At first, I could barely manage 500 meters before running out of breath. It took me 2.5 years to start running 17 kilometers. 2.5 years of steady progress. I did it carefully without pushing myself too hard. I ran as much as I felt like, gradually increasing the distance. When I reached 17 kilometers, I realized that my entire subtle energy body had been cleansed. That was enough. I did not need to run more. I've shared everything with you. Follow the methodical guide. It outlines how to do everything correctly. I'm not hiding anything from you. I've told you everything.
Do you have the methodical health guide in English?
Yes, we have it in English, and it will soon be available in Chinese as well. If needed, we can translate it into any language. For the English version, visit torsunov.ru website. On the homepage, there is a section for English social media. Open that section to download the guide. Come here, I'll show you. Come here. Here's the torsunov.ru main page. Go here, scroll down to social media, and find the section for social media books. Let's look further. Enter the English social media section. Here it is. Next question.
About healing with trees. I once read that the location from which you want to receive energy or heal is very important. For example, they say areas near hospitals aren't suitable.
No, that's nonsense.
Can I ask a question? I heard that when we wake up, it's crucial to go outside to let the sunlight enter our eyes. This supposedly triggers the right process.
When you wake up, sitting in the sun, walking, or getting into water is incredibly beneficial for your health. The eyes are connected to the sun. The eyes are connected to the sun, and the sun heals them through its energy. So, when you stand in water under the sun, close your eyes and look directly at the sun with your eyes closed. Your eyes will heal during this process. Healing happens with closed eyes in the sun. So, my dears, what else would you like to ask me?
Can we stand on nails?
That's a stimulating practice. What I've shared with you so far focuses on cleansing the body and supporting a long, happy life. If you follow all these practices, we'll continue our conversation in 40 years. But if you don't, I will continue without you. You won't live until our next conversation. And what's the purpose of standing on nails? It's to build resilience to endure overload. Practices like contrast showers and running uphill are stimulating practices. Quick accelerations, standing on nails, and other similar methods are all about preparing the body to endure a heavy load. For example, I currently run 17 kilometers at a steady rhythm. I can't run uphill or do acceleration sprints because my health reserves aren't as strong as young people have, but at a steady pace I can run 17 kilometers. This means I can handle cleansing practices, but I can't do toning ones anymore. My age doesn't allow for it.
You can feel that.
Yes, I feel it. That's why I stick to flat surfaces. Occasionally we run on small hills a little bit to give the heart a bit of a workout, but I manage it carefully. Well, I can manage a bit, but I can't go as intensely anymore. Naturally, the body starts to feel the overload. Joints, heart, everything begins to give out. That's why I run on flat surfaces and good shoes. I use sneakers with gel cushioning for a soft impact. The key is running softly and carefully without overloading knees or hips. There's no need to invent any special running techniques. You need to learn how to run. Just run and walk however you can. When I started running, I ran like a goose, that is. I was just slapping my feet because my muscles were weak. Over time, my muscles strengthened. Now, I run like an ostrich. My legs lift naturally now and everything feels great because muscles train themselves gradually. If you try to force it or move artificially, you'll just end up straining yourself for no benefit. With prolonged, continuous movement, it's important to stay relaxed. Don't exhaust yourself by pushing yourself harder or faster. Run as you like, run calmly at your own pace, and enjoy life.
What's the pulse rate we shouldn't exceed?
It varies for everyone. It all depends on your average resting pulse. For instance, if your average pulse is 60, the maximum should be around 140 to 160 beats per minute. If your average pulse is 80, then a range of 150-160 is normal, with 180 being the maximum. If your average pulse is 100, you can go up to 180. Everything depends on your average pulse rate. You need to measure it. What's your pulse rate under normal conditions? In general, it's better not to exceed 180 beats per minute. Even for those with naturally higher pulse rates, it's better to stay below 180. A safer range is 160-170. When I started running, my average pulse would reach 150-160. I ran with you. We ran together the day before yesterday, and my average pulse was 134 beats per minute. This is a very good pulse for me. My record is 130 beats at that distance. Your pulse also depends on factors like climate and terrain, on whether these conditions suit you or not. Here, when I started running, my pulse was 140. As I continued, it dropped to 125 and stayed there. That's a good sign the terrain suited me. When a person begins running, their heart rate is usually around 150-160. The body needs years to adapt for the pulse to become soft and steady. Strength training is essential. It involves dynamic tension, which is needed to strengthen muscles and prevent hernias. You should go to the gym once a week.
Is this also cleansing?
Yes, strength training cleanses the energy layers as well. When you lift weights, both static and dynamic tension are cleansed simultaneously. However, this is a heavy load for the body.
I exercise 4 times a week, 2 hours each time.
2 hours continuously? What's your heart rate during these 2 hours?
When doing squats, it can go up to 150-160.
With that intensity, you're cleansing about 4, maybe even 5 energy layers. But you must balance this with water procedures and static tension exercises. Otherwise, there will be a strong imbalance. You don't need to work out for 4 sessions of 2 hours each. Twice a week is sufficient. If you're used to it, that's fine.
Twice is not enough.
Okay, do more. But make sure to do static tension exercises for 65 minutes and sit in water. Do static tension exercises 4 times a week. Without these, you will develop an imbalance. Your body currently lacks water energy. You need to restore the balance. Otherwise, inflammatory processes will start in the body. You need to walk for 4 hours, check your average heart rate, and then continue. Or run to cleanse 5 layers and check your average heart rate. If you maintain the same average heart rate during training, you'll cleanse 5 layers. Is that clear?
My average heart rate is 140 throughout the workout.
Do you have such a heart rate for the entire workout? Well, if your heart rate is steady at 140, follow the schedule or table for running to cleanse 5 layers and see how many layers you cleanse during one training session. We have measurements only for running and walking distances. We don't have specific data for strength training or workouts, but I can see that you always cleanse 4 or 5 energy layers. This is good, but you need to know precisely what if you're cleansing only 4.5 layers. That would leave half a layer uncleansed. Or conversely, you're cleansing more than needed. This is problematic. Let's say during each workout, you're not just cleansing 5 layers, but over-cleansing the first layer repeatedly. This means the first layer will be overstrained each time. Therefore, it's optimal to cleanse exactly 5 layers. How to determine this? Just run with a heart rate of 140 and refer to the table that correlates time, distance, and layers cleansed. Is it clear or not? Run for 2 hours with a heart rate of 140. Your workout is 2 hours, right? You run for 2 hours and see how far you've run. This will indicate how many layers you've cleansed. Okay, run for an hour or half an hour with a heart rate of 140. Then multiply it by 4 and check the table to see how many layers you've cleansed. When you run, what's your heart rate?
I don't run, I walk.
You need to run with a heart rate of 140 for at least half an hour. This will allow you to determine how many layers you cleanse during your 2-hour workout. Your average heart rate for the entire workout should be 140 beats. Sometimes it's on 60, sometimes a 130, but the average is a 140. If your heart rate is lower, then you need to walk or run at that heart rate. This will help you understand how many layers you're cleansing.
Dr. Torsunov, what's better? Swimming in a 26-degree pool for 70 minutes or going into cold water to finish cleansing 5 layers in cold water? If I have to choose one or the other, which is better?
The best option is to sit in a cold water barrel outdoors near your house. The barrel should be outdoors.
But I don't have a sauna nearby.
Okay, then warm up in a jacuzzi. After sitting in cold water to cleanse 5 layers, relax in a jacuzzi for 2 layers. That's all you need.
How long is 2 layers? If the water is 40 degrees, 2 layers would take 16 minutes. Can I do static tension exercises in the morning, pray, and then do this?
Is that okay? Yes, that's excellent. Sit in the pool twice a week, that is. Sit in the cold water barrel twice a week and warm up in the jacuzzi afterward. This approach will work well.
And then?
Well, if you want to put in a bit more effort, you can set up a glass-enclosed bathtub at your home. Simply install a glass enclosure, add a steam generator, and include a folding table in the setup. Open the bathtub, put the table inside, and turn on the steam generator. Wait for half an hour. The strongest steam rises to the top, so lie down on the table where it's hottest. It becomes like a steam room. When you are done, remove the table and turn off the steam generator. With this setup, you can wash, steam, and relax in the bathtub. After sitting in the cold water barrel, go to the bathtub, steam for 5 layers, then back to the barrel, remove the table, and open the bathtub. That's it. You can wash and do whatever you want. Isn't it cool? I have one like this at home.
A steam generator is needed.
Buy a steam generator designed for your bathtub's volume to ensure it generates enough steam.
It's cheaper than building a sauna.
Absolutely, it's 50 times cheaper. Unlike a sauna, which requires following a certain technology, this setup is simple. The steam generator works like a water heater. It produces steam, and the glass enclosure traps it. The main thing to understand is that lying in the bathtub won't get you properly steamed because the steam rises to the ceiling. That's why you need a custom folding table for the bathtub. Make a folding table specifically for your bathtub. The table's legs should fold like this. It needs to be custom made. Set it up, climb on a stool or chair, and lie near the ceiling to steam effectively. To make this work, you need at least a touch of ingenuity, perhaps a bit of Jewish blood. All right, good. Next questions.
Can we talk about oncology?
Now is the perfect time. Oncology treatment involves prolonged, continuous movement and fasting. No meat, fish, or smoking. Otherwise, you'll never cure it. After 6 p.m., don't eat meat, fish, eggs, grains, beans, dairy, and sweets. You can eat fruits, dried fruits, vegetables, greens, nuts, and non-grain cereals. Buckwheat, quinoa, and amaranth are allowed in the evening. The rest is not.
Does prolonged continuous movement mean walking or running for a long time?
You can alternate between running and walking.
How long should we walk?
For cleansing 5 layers, walk at a medium pace for 4 hours. What kind of tumor was it?
Breast.
Then walk for 3 hours and 20 minutes at a medium pace. Don't overstrain yourself. Repeat every 5 days. Fast once every 3 weeks for 48 hours on greens or water. Stand with your back against a sequoia tree. At least a couple of times a week. Sequoia is a tree that helps treat cancer. It triggers healing energy.
Is all of this suitable for preventing recurrence?
Yes, if you practice all the cleansing methods, you won't get tumors, you won't get sick. Tumors indicate strong energetic blockages in the 4th layer. This is dynamic tension. Lack of prana energy and sun energy in the 4th layer causes breast tumors. Lack of prana or air energy in the 4th layer and lack of sun energy in the 4th layer together create blockages that lead to breast cancer. First, toxins accumulate in the breast. Then a benign tumor forms. Over time, a malignant tumor forms. This is the sequence of events.
Are prana and air energy the same?
Yes, prana energy and air energy are the same.
How is the heart treated?
The heart is linked to the 3rd layer. You need cleansing for 3 layers: water, static tension, dynamic tension, and fasting. That's it. The heart gets healed.
What if blood sugar is slightly elevated?
Blood sugar issues relate to the 4th layer. You need water, static tension, dynamic tension, and fasting for 4 layers. Also, avoid eating at night. That's the main reason for elevated sugar.
How to transition away from eating meat? Should I first switch to chicken and fish and reduce it gradually? I shouldn't quit abruptly, should I?
Indeed, transition gradually. First stop eating beef, then stop eating poultry, then stop eating fish, finally give up seafood. That's it then, you're free. Humans don't need meat. It causes toxins accumulation. Toxins accumulate, there's a lack of sun energy, and cancer follows.
But honey and milk are allowed?
Milk is pure food. It's the energy of love. It never leads to cancer. However, eating cheese and sour cream at night can still contaminate the body with toxins. Dairy products generally don't reduce sun energy in the body, but meat does. Eating in the evenings also reduces sun energy. When a person overeats at night, sun energy immediately diminishes. Toxins increase, fat increases, sun energy diminishes, and as a result, you move closer to developing cancer.
What can we eat in the evening?
You can eat vegetables except potatoes and tomatoes.
Are grains also not allowed?
Correct. Grains are not allowed. Legumes are not allowed. Dairy is not allowed. Sweets are not allowed. You can have vegetables, fruits, and dried fruits. I've repeated this many times.
Dr. Torsunov, what advice would you give to those who work and have little time for lunch, when there's no time to eat well and enough?
You should eat several small portions throughout the day. What else can you do?
Should we finish eating at 4 or 5 o'clock?
No, that's not necessary. You can eat in the evening, but stick to the foods I mentioned.
What you mentioned can be eaten until 6 p.m.
You can eat after 6 too. You can have fruits, dried fruits, stewed vegetables, and buckwheat. The main thing is not to eat grains, legumes, dairy, and sweets. To learn more on the subject of health and healing of the body, please make sure to read my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page. Thank you very much, and see you soon.